Hello, hello, everyone. I'm super excited for today. My name is Lindsay Dollinger, and I'm a social selling coach, in addition to being a high school Spanish teacher. And I am chatting today with Kristin. I'm going to let Kristin introduce herself.
Hey guys, it's Kristin.
Hello, hello.
Yes, I'm a real estate agent and entrepreneur. I've got a blog, a podcast, a website. I hope to have filled with resources one day. Right now, it's just got a couple things, but yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of entrepreneurship, right? Is just kind of adding and pivoting and going as we go. Which
Yes.
I think for both of us, probably working full-time jobs has
Yeah.
to be the way to go, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about like your journey. Like how did you get into real estate? How did you decide to kind of break off at the same time and do a little bit of your own thing? What did that look like?
Yeah. Ooh, good question. Um, it's funny. I actually specifically did not want to be a realtor. So both of my parents are in real estate. My dad is an appraiser and a licensed realtor, and my mom is a licensed realtor. So growing up with that, I I loved real estate, but they are both workaholics, and I think given the industry, you can work 24/7 in real estate if you want to. And back then, my poor mother, back then they did not have the technology that we have today. So I feel blessed to do everything. You can do all of the signing electronically with the send of an email. And back then, she was on her phone and in her car driving to get physical signatures like 24/7.
I bet.
So I
Yeah.
think yeah, so I think for that reason I was like, okay, well, I know that like I don't want to do real estate.
You're like ruled that out.
Yeah, which, I think God always has a sense of humor, and it's, try to make a plan. And so anyways, fast forward to the future. I got my degree in marketing, finished school. My husband and I moved back to Oklahoma, and I was like, okay, well, I'll start looking for a job. And nothing really seemed to fit. Like I had worked a lot of odd end jobs, and I was like, I don't really fit in the whole 9 to 5 desk job situation. So I think I was trying to force that because I was like, I just want to start making money. Like, I need to get something going. But after a couple of, I don't want to say failed interviews, but just it didn't work out. Whether I didn't want the job or they didn't want to hire me, it didn't work out. And so my husband, Drew, was like, well, he's like, I really wish you would give real estate a try. And I was like, whatever, you're just saying that because my parents do it. But no, he was like, no, I think it's everything that you want. I think it has the flexibility. Like you can be in charge of your own schedule. You can work as much or as little as you want. You can make as much money or as little money as you want. You get to help people. Like I'm a really big people person. So of course, don't tell him, but my husband is always right. So I tried it and I ended up falling in love with it. So been doing that. That's been challenging, an emotional roller coaster, but for the most part, it's fun and I love it. And there's really not much else like helping someone buy their house. Like it's one of the biggest purchases that people are going to make.
I bet that's such an exciting. I mean, I can imagine it's probably pretty can be pretty stressful at times for
Mhm.
sure. But I bet when it's all said and done, like that's literally the best feeling of accomplishment. Like I just helped this person have their dream home. Like that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, yeah, and just knowing that, like, it's literally my job to make it less stressful, and just knowing that, like, it's also my job to make sure that, like, they get the best deal out there, like, they get there's someone fighting in their corner for them. So, it can be really stressful, and it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster, so I like to joke and say that I'm also a therapist. I'm here to listen, but, yeah, realtor, so
I love that. I love that. And I don't know why, but I feel like that's one of the professions that I never really thought of as much as like service based, but you're
Mhm.
definitely service based, like customer service, like all the way through. And
Yeah,
I'm glad you get to have that flexibility that your poor mom didn't get to have when she was going over town. I remember, I don't even know why I remember this, but I remember my parents buying a property and like we all had to get in the car and go down to the closing. And like I just remember all the papers and just signing and all these like I was
Yes.
young when it happened, but like that's my first memory of that. And so when you said that, I'm like, oh, I can only imagine.
Yes, and they still do that at the closing table. It's like a million papers to just, autograph every single one of them. But I can't imagine doing that and doing the whole thing, like just driving to someone's house to get one signature for this, one signature for that. Oh, we changed this, another signature. Like I can't imagine. So it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, that's nuts. Now, how did your pivot into the entrepreneurship side happen then?
Yes, so that was actually something because I feel like I guess I'm a professional negotiator now with real estate, but I think my parents, could back me up on this that I've always been a negotiator. So I think what I was negotiating with my husband when I said I would try it is, yeah, I have that flexibility and whatever money I make in real estate, like I can, put that money towards other things. And so I think always in the back of my head, I knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur in one way or another. So when I started real estate, I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like, kind of an entrepreneur with being a realtor, having you're basically your own boss, even though, you have people that you answer to and stuff. But for the most part, it's like you running your own business. But yeah, I always wanted to run a podcast. And I'm not crazy about blogging, but I see the opportunities that it brings an entrepreneur. And I also feel like blogging is a great way to expand your brand. It's like podcasting, it's just another way to get your brand out there. So yeah, I didn't really know what it looked like at the time, but I kind of agreed to trying real estate knowing that like I'm a hustler. I'm always going to do other things in the background. So here we are.
I'm the same way. And that's so interesting. I did blogging. I mean, technically, I guess I have a website, so it it has a blog feature.
Yeah.
Um, but I did blogging. Actually had a travel blog, and that was like my like into doing my own thing. Because I started in network marketing and direct sales in
Mm,
2016, and much like you, I liked the freedom. I liked the amount of I can work this as little or as much as I want. And I still had my full-time job, obviously. So that was like the big pull for me. Um, but then I started with the travel blog and then started getting into podcasts through that. And I was like listening to all these podcasts. I'm like, I wonder if I could have a podcast. Like, does this cost a lot of money? Like, how does this work? Like,
right.
yeah, the same sort of thing. And I'm like, I have like an entirely different audience of women who listen to my podcast than who follow me on social. And I'm like, it's really such a great way to expand your market. If you feel comfortable and if you like talking and, all those sorts of things. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm the same way. Like, why not repurpose and use your ideas and put them in multiple places for different kinds of people to find you? Like, that's literally so smart, right?
Yes, yes. No, I love that. And it is really smart. And I think, like you said, if you enjoy talking and if you enjoy doing, multiple things to extend your reach and expand your brand and your network, like just do all the things. But I feel like I I kind of want you to introduce yourself as well because I feel like I've been caught up in answering your questions and I'm like, okay, this is a podcast swap. So like I kind of want you to do an intro and I know you just kind of touched on how you got into it, but yeah, let's rewind a little bit and you do your part.
Okay, sure. So, I grew up in pretty much the same place where I live, ish, more or less, central area. Always knew the same sort of thing that it was funny when you said you always knew you wanted to be like an entrepreneur because I have these like memories of me starting I think I called it the garden club. Like I read the Babysitter's Club books when I was, little, like third, fourth grade. So I started the garden club and we had like a seed swap. And
I love that.
my goal, I was going to plant all these seeds and grow them. And then I was going to sell the plants. I don't think that ever happened. Like, I don't remember any outcome, but I remember our meetings. So like that was my first, and so I've always kind of known that as well. But I also knew I loved teaching, and
Mhm.
I come from, well, my parents are not teachers, but a lot of my aunts and uncles were. So, kind of grew up in a teaching family. So that was just naturally like the pathway. So I've been a teacher. I'm a high school Spanish teacher. And like I mentioned, I got into network marketing in 2016. I was always anti-network marketing. Um,
Most
pyramid.
people are.
Yeah, they are. They
Yeah.
are. And it just so happened I was the right place and the right time for me and really what I needed, to like, branch out from what I was already doing and kind of like the everyday life and try something new. I love trying new things, and I'm not afraid of um failing and learning from my mistakes. Like, I'll try everything once. So I'm like, okay. So I like read the contract, and there was no penalty if you cancel. So I'm like, why not try it? So I did, and I fell in love with it. I really loved the community. I loved being able to sell something, and also not having to worry about all of the startup stuff that goes into, creating your own product from scratch, which people who start that way, like, kudos to you, because that's so hard. That's a
Mhm.
really hard way. And if you're passionate about your product and go for it, go all in. But I, I do think network marketing is a really nice way to kind of ease into that. Um,
Mhm.
and so essentially that's kind of what I've done. I got to the top of my company, and I started getting messages from women in a bunch of other companies like, hey, how did you do this? Because you don't come across spammy and you're not sending all the messages like I'm getting from other people. And I don't see you posting those pictures all the time. So how did you get to the top? And that was just kind of like a light bulb moment for me where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can start teaching all this stuff that I'm teaching my team. And that's what I could do my podcast about. And I can have a free group. And, it's just kind of naturally evolved
Yeah.
from there about, what I'm passionate about. And like I mentioned, I have a travel blog. Like, well, I don't anymore. I didn't renew the site, but I had one. So
Mhm.
like things have definitely pivoted as I've gone. Um, but I think one of the most important things is just giving ourselves that permission to allow that pivoting and not being so like glued to one thing when kind of like the whole universe is telling you like, okay, now it's time to do something different and explore something different. And our stories are really similar in that way, which I really love.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you say that because, I too I tried to do a lifestyle blog.
It's hard. It's hard, right?
It is, it's so hard, and, but it's like you're saying, I feel like I knew kind of the general direction, like, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I was somewhat interested in blogging, I thought it seemed really fun. I always thought that it looked really hard, like, kudos to those girls, because it is really hard, but, and then it's like you feel like a failure when it doesn't work out, or at least I used to. And I think what you said is so important that like you've got to be flexible and you have to pivot. And that's something that my husband is always kind of like reassuring me. He's like, listen, he was like, you've got the big goal. Like, you don't ever have to change that goal. But he was like, you've got to be flexible on how you get there. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, I'm like, I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I'm like, no, I go here and then here and then here and then here and then I'll get there. But it's like, no, I went here and then it was like, that didn't really work out, but here's another opportunity. And like, yeah, so that's important.
I heard some quote really recently, and totally gonna butcher it and mess it up, but a woman was talking about how many times she sent in her book request. I want to say it was Mel Robbins, like her like manuscript to editors the first time. And she
Yeah.
sent it to like, I don't know, 70 or 80. And they all said no. And it was like the 81st one that said yes. So she was like,
Oh
what
my
if
God.
I would have given up on, the 79th one or whatever, instead of like keeping
Yeah.
going and finding someone else to send it to, or, whatever. And I just thought that was so powerful because I
Hmm.
feel like those are the things that we don't necessarily hear from people is how, they've made those posts and I've launched products this year and had no one sign up for them. And then, so I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, is feedback. Like this is either feedback on either my product itself or how I launched it, and then I
Mhm.
just turned around and November was my highest month ever because I took that feedback, twisted it and made it what is actually going to be profitable and what my audience wants. And I mean, that's what we get to do. And it just might take a while to figure out.
Yes. No,
Right?
but I love that though, because you're right, taking the feedback, and it's really like taking what I used to take so hard and call a failure. It's like now I this is going to sound so corny, but like I kind of get exciting about failing now,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm like, this is a teachable moment, right? Like this is like, how can I learn from this? Like what feedback do I get from this, and how can I make it better? Because that what seems so big in the moment with that failure is really, it's teaching you, and it's making you change something to get you to like the better
yeah,
version of whatever, like the bigger plan of
yeah.
what it's supposed to
Yeah,
be.
you're 100% your next level. I'm like all about analogies. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
someone else was saying like to envision it like your video game levels. And so like
Mm.
you're going through, and so okay, well, I didn't get this challenge this time, so I got to go back to this level and I get to do it again. And but then when I hit this level, then I get to go on to the next one, and there's like bigger, more awesome things, but there's also going to be bigger, different challenges there. And that's something I think a lot of people don't realize. They think I'm going to get to this level and then it's all going to be, all the people are just going to come to me and I don't have to work anymore. And yeah, you know,
I wish.
right? That'd be really, that'd be really nice
Yeah.
if everyone just did that. But
Yeah.
um, it's really easy to forget because we only see usually, the good side of the things on the social media. And then we start comparing ourselves, like you said, with the bloggers, and you're like,
Yeah.
how are they doing that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Blogging is it's super fun and it's its own world. Like I remember doing I did Matt Nomadic Matt. So he does travel blogging, but he has a really awesome blog course, which you should definitely check out. I'm not an affiliate for it, but he
Yeah.
has some good stuff. But I remember going through these blogging courses and being like, I don't even know what this is. Like, what does this stand for? And like, but it's really fun to learn some of that new stuff and then turn around and create it as well.
Yes, I think that's something that I've really fallen in love with as an entrepreneur that I did not expect, was we are constantly learning and
Yeah.
evolving. And like I I was not a good student growing up. Like I was into sports. I, loved playing sports. You couldn't pay me to read a book when I was growing up. And I mean, I guess I struggled in school. I don't know. I did good enough. I got out of there. And I did, my
You're like,
grades were, yeah, and my grades were good enough to play the sports, right?
uh-huh.
But I feel like in my adult life and as an entrepreneur, like I'm obsessed with reading, and it's mostly what has gotten me fallen in love with reading is like personal development and
Yeah.
self-help and the entrepreneur books, because and that I think was a big reason why I launched the podcast too, because I just love hearing people's story, like entrepreneurs' stories. And
Yeah.
everybody's got a good one, and they're all different and they're all helpful. I love
I
it.
love that. I was the same way. I never did personal development or anything like that before I joined network marketing, and I put it off for a really long time. And I only started because I like won a book. And I'm like, well, if I won it, like I have to read it. I was
Yes.
so well, because I was management or a business minor in college, like for a while. Long story.
Mhm.
It was for a boy. It was a really stupid decision.
Oh, no.
That's for another day.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but just remember the books. And at the time, I was not into business at all. And I was like, this is literally the worst ever. Right. But it also wasn't the kind of books that I read now. Anyway, but so I had this like view of them. So I really put it off. And I totally agree. Once I like fell into that world and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can make myself better from reading, and my mindset shifts, and like found the woo and like all this stuff. And it's changed my personality a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so what are some of your favorite books? Just curious. Or authors?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like I have a list that I need
Yeah,
to dive
I totally
into.
do.
But I think one of the books that I first read, which probably got me into the entrepreneur books, is actually the Magnolia Story.
Whoa.
So, and it's a little bit different than probably what I would call the entrepreneur book, but I don't know. I'm just obsessed with Chip and Joanna, obviously. Um, Chip and Joanna Gaines down there in Waco, Texas. And so
Yeah.
when their book came out and it was like their story of how they got started, I was like, love them. This is a book that I'm actually interested in reading. And I did read it. And I really think that that kind of sparked, the flame in me that was like, okay, like this is their entrepreneur story and I got to have more of it. So that one is definitely that holds a special spot in my heart. I
I have
also
I'm gonna add that to my list.
Yes, yeah, I don't know, like I said, it's not really like the typical what I would call an entrepreneur book, like a personal development, but like it's a great story and it's just obviously the success they have today, we all know, and it's like it's cool to
Yeah.
see where they started. So that was probably the first one that really got me into it. And then more recently, I've actually read The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
I love that book. Isn't it
Yeah,
so good?
it was so good. And I was talking to someone else about it and they were like, you've got to read Atomic Habits. Like, so that's next on my list. But they were like, it's like 10 times better than The Compound Effect. And I was like, what could be better than that? Like,
Your mind's gonna explode.
yeah. And then I think I'm probably three-fourths of the way through GoPro, which
Okay.
is network marketing. Have you read that one yet?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
Eric Worre, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a whole GoPro, actually, it was this past weekend. His virtual GoPro was this past weekend because I had some clients at it.
I love that. I want to pick your brain a bit about network marketing because
Okay,
like as a real estate agent, I joined EXP Realty in February
okay,
and they provide so many opportunities for agents to make money outside of selling, which
okay.
I think is awesome. Because I think real estate is one of those careers where you don't get a 401k, they don't offer health insurance. Like you really are just an independent contractor and it's really just you got to do everything for yourself.
Right.
So when EXP came along, I was so excited and they have a revenue share option
Okay.
where you can, bring realtors on in your downline. You make a little percentage off of that. And everybody has the same opportunity. So I know
Oh,
I think it's
yeah,
kind of similar to MLM and like you said, I think people hate that it sounds pyramid schemy, but it's not because everybody has the same opportunity, which
yeah,
I love, and it's actually the way that it's structured. It benefits me more to help someone in my downline grow their downline. You know what
yep,
I mean? It's very
yep.
like team oriented. So I would love to kind of pick your brain about network marketing and how
Yeah.
that works for you.
I just wrote this down because that's so interesting, because I wasn't
Yeah.
aware that even existed in the real estate world, um, which
Yeah.
actually is kinda making sense now because I have a lot of realtor friends, and I'm seeing them share more about their business, and not that it just isn't to sell houses, but I'm like, "Oh, I bet this is also to start recruiting people for their team." Um,
Mhm.
I mean, essentially, it sounds pretty much exactly like what I do. Uh,
Yeah.
so the biggest thing with growing a team, and this is how, like, I feel like no one who actually knows me ever says anything about a pyramid scheme to me, is that I from day one, I'm like, I am 100% committed to my team. So if my team has a question about something, like I will get back to them for sure within 24 hours, if not sooner. I mean, obviously, I work full-time job also. Um, but the really cool thing is you get to kind of create the environment that you want to have. So if you want to have a team culture where you have a meeting every week that's obviously optional, but people can jump on for office hours. Zoom is really great for that.
Yeah.
Um, like I know team Facebook pages are super popular. So posting inspiration or trainings, or, I share podcast links in mine, like, hey guys, this might be really great to listen to. Um, but that's the really cool thing about building a team is you get to kind of put out there your energy and you're going to attract that same energy back in those people who are interested. And it grows really nice and organic that way when you're letting people know that it's an opportunity
Hmm.
and you're going to support your team and these are the benefits that you provide. What sets you apart from someone else who's a realtor and what you can provide, which is a lot of stuff, which is a
Yeah.
really great skill list for sure to bring to
Yeah.
the table. Um, but yeah, that's really awesome. That's really fun.
So do you ever approach people about it? Or
I
do
do.
you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. So Um, the way I have learned to do this is like I mentioned, I never approach anyone who obviously I wouldn't actually want to work with. Um,
Hmm.
and it's the same thing with anything, if you're gonna refer a product to your friends and family, like it's gonna be something that you really love.
Yeah.
So I make like a dream team list. And I put down the people who I would really, really love to work with. And I send them messages and I just let them know, like, it's an open invitation, but like, hey, Kristin, I don't know if you knew this, but I am a realtor and we actually have the opportunity to basically sponsor people in our realty group firm. I don't know. I don't know what that means,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. Um, I don't know if you've ever considered it, but I would love to work with you because of X reason, because our energy is much the same, because you're really great at social media, because you have great people, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, that's your authentic compliment to them. And then just say, I'd love to chat with you about this over a Zoom call or coffee. Let me know if you'd be interested. And usually when I send that, I love sending voice memos like on Facebook or Instagram is my favorite for an invite.
Mhm.
Usually when I send that and I'm smiling when I say it so they can hear, the sound of my voice and they know I'm authentic and they know that I'm not sending it mass copy and paste to 1,000 people.
Yeah.
I would say almost everyone gets back with me and either says, um, actually, I have thought of it, or like, no, I wasn't aware of that, but I'd be open. Very rarely is someone like flat out no, but even the ones that are flat out no are like, thank you so much for thinking about me though. And
Yeah.
so it's really nice when you're able to send like not a word vomit, not a copy, but yeah, you definitely, that's the biggest thing I think stopping women from growing a team is the fear of reaching out to people or not wanting to be spammy or not wanting to be considered the MLM or, um,
Mhm.
and letting those fears get in and start creeping in. And when you can like kind of release that and just be like, "Hey, I really would love to work with you." Like I really would. It's cool if this isn't the right time or whatever, but I want you to know. And people are, it's a nice compliment. Like people feel loved when you do that, I think.
I love that. And I love that you said something about like releasing the fear because I feel like I'm struggling with that, right? Like this is kind of
Mhm.
my first experience with, you know, an MLM or revenue share downline, like whatever you want to call it. And it's intimidating when you kind of have that mindset and that energy where you're like, no, like everyone thinks it's a pyramid scheme, like, and it's like
Yeah.
that's definitely what you're putting out, and that is what you're going to attract. So
Yep.
it's super important to, like you said, get your mindset right and like just do you, like be genuine.
Yeah, obviously I still hear those things from people, and I try to some of them I try to educate, like, actually it's not a pyramid scheme and this is why.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and then some of them I'm just like, bless and release because I don't need that energy. That's
Yeah.
fine. Go tell on someone else. I'm just over here building my top 1% network marketing business. So that's like I don't need, so if you can just remember that as you're, as you because you'll hear it, you will.
Hmm.
Um, but also know that you're coming from a place of service and you freaking love real estate. You have a lot to offer anyone who is joining real estate, and they would be lucky to have you as their sponsor.
Oh, thank
Like,
you.
seriously, like that's the mindset, yeah, that's the mindset you get to have, girl. Like, because it's all true, right? It's all
Yeah.
true. So just remembering that every time. And honestly, I tell myself that a lot right before I'm sending messages to people, I'm like this
Yeah.
girl would be lucky for me to
I
but
love
it's
it.
yeah, and it puts out that good energy and you'll get it back and it will happen. It might not happen tomorrow, you might not get your first yes right away, But if
Right.
you stay consistent with it and have a plan, like, okay, I'm inviting on Fridays every week, or when you feel that nudge, like, ooh, this girl would be good. Like, don't let
Mhm.
yourself get in your head. Just be like, okay, I'm going to send her a message. Like, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah,
And in
love
having
that.
that mentality, like, because here's the thing that I learned, if you don't ask it, someone else will.
Mhm.
So, and that was my biggest, I think that was probably a really big push for me, was when I would see my friends and I'm like, "Oh, they joined my company, but they're not on my team." I'm like, how rude. But I but I never reached out to her. So I don't even know for sure if she knew that that was an opportunity to join me, you know? So I'm like,
Yeah.
shame on me. And then I'm like, fine. And then that's like my motivation to, like, get my phone out and start messaging the people that I keep pushing it off and pushing it off. I'm like, just got to do it. Rip that Band-Aid off
Yes.
and do it.
Yes, I love that. That's very helpful for me, and it's inspiring.
Yes, you got it, girl. It'll be awesome. Well, that's super
Yes.
exciting. I had no idea that, like I said, that was an option. So is that like a fairly new thing or just new with your company?
Um, it's new to real estate, but that is what oh gosh, I should know this when EXP was founded. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. But yeah, I I like to say that Keller Williams walked so EXP could run. Because really Keller Williams, that is who my parents are licensed with, and have been their entire careers because really they've been, the top dog in real estate for a long time. And just a little backstory, like everybody used to do a 50-50 split in real estate on their commission, where the agent would get 50% and the broker that they worked for would get 50%.
Yeah.
So now what is more of the standard, because it really does vary, but more of what I'm seeing now is like 70-30, 80-20, where the agent gets the bulk of what they've earned
Nice.
and the broker is getting the lesser. But Keller Williams was the first one to come in and change that.
Okay.
And so it's funny, and my mom is telling me this because I wasn't here for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of people will kind of talk smack about EXP, and my mom is just like, that's what they used to say about KW. Like they're
Right.
coming in and they are completely revolutionizing the industry and people don't really know what to expect. Obviously, I would imagine if you were a broker getting 50% back then and someone came in and tried to change
Yeah.
that and you got 20, I'd
Yep.
probably be pretty mad too.
Yep. Yep. For sure.
So, but I mean, they're changing the game. Like they offer healthcare to their agents. That's really the first that I've ever heard of a real estate brokerage offering healthcare. They have stock equity options and rewards.
That's
I think
awesome.
that's a first. Yeah, because KW is a private company. They don't even do that. I will say Keller Williams has something called profit share, which I think that's why I say Keller Williams kind of did it first, but EXP made it better, is because,
Yeah.
at KW, they have that profit share where you bring someone on, you get a cut of whatever they close. But actually, at KW, they have market centers, which are the offices, in every area that they are found. And so the way that they do profit share is that after, they've paid all the bills and if they update the carpets, they're paying the receptionist, the assistants, all the supplies. Like
It's,
after they spend all that money, then you get a share. And
yeah.
it's really only if your market center makes a profit, which KW does well, so I would imagine most of them do, but it's
It's
just
different. It's definitely different.
it is, and it's nothing compared to, EXP's revenue share. You're
Mhm.
literally getting a percentage of what they close at the table, and that's coming from EXP's cut, and you get it, whether EXP profits or not or whatever. So it's just yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's definitely nice. It
Yeah.
takes the, like, the risk out of it. Like, you know for sure kinda what you're getting, which is nice.
Mhm.
Um, and that is one of the perks, I will say, of that sort of a plan with team building is, if you're good at it and you're supporting your team, then they're gonna grow and they're gonna sell more houses, and it's really a win-win for both parties. And
Yes.
that's, I think it's such a smart model if done correctly.
Mhm.
Because a lot of my clients who come in to work with me, like, it hasn't been done properly. And like, they just got recruited and then just kind of dumped in, and they have no idea what to do because their upline is not actually building that team structure. And so
Yeah.
that's like my biggest thing is, start building that the way you want it to look now, and really kind of nurture that, because it really can make or break whether you're successful with that plan or not, because there's a huge opportunity there,
Yeah.
if your team has your same mission and your same drive and systems and all that stuff. So there's definitely perks for being a leader on a network marketing or MLM or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah. No,
super excited for
absolutely.
you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm super excited for you, because that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited as well. It was one of those things that I thought it was kind of too good to be true at
Yeah.
first. So I think I researched it for like 2 weeks before I made the switch because I was like, no, there's just no way,
Yeah.
right? But it's such a game changer for real estate agents, and I think more than anything, that's why I want to shout it from the rooftop and tell everyone because there's all those, oh, it's a pyramid scheme, or you just want to recruit me to make money off of me. And it's like, well, I don't make money unless you do. So
Right.
there's that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and the other thing is like with, revenue share and even the stock equity options, because a lot of people don't want to recruit. And I get that. But with the stock options that EXP has as well, it's like you don't have to sell houses for the rest of your life. And
Mhm.
that's what, my mom has been in it for a long time, and I'm sure she has a savings, and I know they've got investment properties for retirement and all that. But if you didn't have that, if you were just selling and not quite thinking about your future, it's like, are you going to be showing your houses when you're like 90 years old, or do you want to like enjoy your life?
Exactly, 100%. And that is that, um, residual income. Like, that's what we say from
Yes.
building your team, you have your residual income. So, like, I have companies right now that I'm not even actively building and recruiting anymore, but I'm still providing, support and still selling the product. And I get a monthly paycheck for what I have put in. And um, I mean, I have friends who are leaders in network marketing who are making millions from residual income. Like,
Yes.
they work. I mean, they worked. The one I'm thinking of has been doing this for 7 years, and she has been at the same company, and she has put in the work, and she does retreats for her team. And, she does the whole nine yards.
Yeah.
And she's definitely a leader with the company, but I'm like, what a life-changing opportunity. So I was talking to her. She's a little bit older than me, not much, but she was saying like, oh, she's going to do this for another 5 years and she's retiring. And I'm like, how freaking awesome. Like, by the time she's 50, she's going to retire. She has all this residual income, and she's been smart about, obviously she's making so much money that she's putting it into retirement funds and different things like that to
Hmm.
continue the residual income, even when she's not actively working her business anymore. But a lot of people don't think about that. Like, the making money while you sleep is not real. And I'm like, but it kind of is.
It can be.
It can be if you do it right. And like you said, you build that team in the right way, and you share. And like you said, you just shout it from the rooftops. Like, you start educating people, letting them know about the opportunity, letting them know about your products, your services, whatever, whether that's houses or skincare or health and nutrition or coaching or whatever. But talking about that, educating people about it, and your people will come. They'll be interested, you know?
Yes, and I love that you said that it's life-changing, because it is, and
Yeah.
it can be. So there's kinda 2 things I wanna touch on that. So I went to my sponsors actually hosted a mastermind for us in Puerto
Oh,
Rico, which was awesome.
so
They're
fun.
so good at taking care of their downline, like, I love it. But we got to listen to Brent Gove speak. He's a realtor, he's at EXP, and um, he's doing really well. Like I don't know if I can share his numbers on here.
You're
But
like,
it's,
he's doing well. He's doing really well.
I know, like unimaginable. Like I know I was sharing with someone, I was like, just guess how much you think he's making in a month. And they could tell the way I was saying it. They're like, it's gotta be something
Yeah,
unrealistic.
yeah.
And they guessed it. They hit it on the head. So if you're thinking about it while you're listening to this, it's probably that
Probably
number,
right.
and it's every month. But no, he was like, yeah, I was at Remax. and I liked it. And he was like, and then I was at Keller Williams and I loved it. And then I joined EXP and it's life changing.
Really loved it.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it really is. And I think something to be said to go along with that is it's really fun and easy for us to share all these stories like, oh, so and so is making, $1 million a month on, revenue share or whatever, and they're making millions, they're going to retire in 5 years. And it's all of these wonderful success stories. And like you said, we maybe don't get to share or talk enough about the struggles and the hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears that they put in that time to be able to do that. And I think that's something that I have kind of heard a lot about network marketing. I think it was in the GoPro book. I know for sure I heard it recently with Ed Milet. Do you know who he is?
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with his podcast right now. And so
it's so good.
It is. And I can't remember which interview it was, but they were talking about, it may have been Grant Cardone, but they were talking about how people that, hate on MLMs and network marketing, they quit. They gave up on it. Because it's you either, put in the time and grind and get to all these, $1 million months, whatever your goals are, or you quit. And so when I heard that, I was like, it's so true though, because anyone that's hating on it, they're just like, oh, well, it didn't work out, or my sponsor didn't help me enough, or whatever excuses there are. And it's, we're not saying it's easy. But we're just saying that it's possible. So like, why would you not, try and try again and just never quit and we have one life, like just see if you can do it.
Yes. Yes.
That's my soapbox.
I know I was going to say other things, but I feel like that's like it. Like that's the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, I've been there. I currently have in one of the businesses that I'm running an upline who straight up told me, I don't want anything to do with you or your team. I'm not helping. I mean,
my gosh.
it happened, and I never would have did had I not. And so, I mean, that's the company that I'm in the top less than 1%. I was like, well, see ya. And like that kind of honestly just fueled my fire even more. I don't know if you see a theme there, but I'm like, what do you mean I can't do this? Like, yes, I can.
Watch me.
That's how I am. And when I had that mindset shift of like, okay, well, I'm not getting help where I think I deserve it. So I'm going to invest in coaching, and I'm going to watch all the free YouTube videos, and I'm going to listen to all the podcasts, and I'm not only going to join all that stuff and listen and learn all the things, but I'm actually going to implement. And like, that was where my whole business changed. Was I was like, okay, well, like I said, pulling the Band-Aid off, I'm doing it, and I'm setting aside time because I work a full-time job also, but I really want to make this work. So setting aside that time every night, working my business, getting it done. Okay, then I can close my computer and having that boundary of like, okay, it's a hard stop. But that's different. That's the difference between the people who are complaining about not making any money or not being successful, or who quit, and the people who make it to the top. Because the people who make it to the top are consistent, they show up, they do the work, and they stick with it. They don't quit, right? Like, that's literally it. And it sounds so simple, and it is. It's not easy, but it's definitely simple for sure.
Yeah. It's easy when you think, you're just saying, just don't quit. That sounds easy.
Yep.
It's really hard to not quit. But I also feel like though, once you've decided that you're not going to quit, then all of these difficult, tasks or pivots or challenges or whatever, to me, it felt easier. Like I probably had several days where I was like, I'm going to quit real estate. Like, I'm just not cut out for this. Like, I don't even know where my next paycheck's coming. And so is so mean. Like, but then it's like the next day, everything's fine. And it's like, you kind of grow that thick skin.
Yeah.
And it also got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm starting to feel like the energy and the vibes that I'm like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so it's like, as soon as I decided, I was like, I'm not quitting. This is it. And there are no other options. And I, aside from like pivoting and stuff, but there's no other like big career changes. It's like, that's honestly when things really started to take off for me too. So
I love that. yeah, that decision, like, okay, fine, I'm going all in. Like, let's do this. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Because when you know you're all in and you know what you're focused on, I think you said that earlier, like that focusing on that end goal, it doesn't really matter how you get there and all the other things, like you're getting there. Like it's gonna happen.
Yep. Yeah,
Whether you have
because I feel like, yeah, and I feel like people are always saying, probably my husband saying this too, but it's like when you when you put your head down, and I say that like he's so annoying, but like he's really the best thing that's ever happened to
Yeah, I
me
was gonna say, it sounds
and
like
my career.
yeah.
Yes, no, he's really been such a light in my life, and just really like I want to take the credit because I'm doing the work and I'm hustling and I have the dream and everything, but like the days where I get down, like, or if I'm bouncing an idea off him, like he really is just like, so
Yeah.
anyways, I don't want it to sound like I'm annoying with him. Like
No, no, no,
he's
I didn't say that.
great. I feel like I totally lost where I was originally going with that, but yeah, my husband's great. Shout out to him.
That's his husband.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't remember. We were talking about your end goal, but oh well.
Yeah. I'm sure
It'll
it'll
come
come back up.
as soon as you're like off, you'll be like, oh dang it.
Yeah, yeah.
So Kristin, is there any last minute, let's share like a last minute tip for everyone listening. So I'll think of mine. I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's funny. I should have been prepared because I always ask that question on my podcast.
Yeah.
I think my advice would be well, it's kind of a quote that everyone hears about, but it's kind of a two-part there. So the first part, I guess, would be this quote that everyone already hears. If your goals and your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Yeah.
Because one of my biggest pet peeves is when people are like, oh, I love that car, but like I'd never drive a car like that. And I'm like, why? You have that desire. Why? So
Ooh, I love that.
there's one. It's like dream bigger, like go for the big fish. Like I said earlier, you have one freaking life. Like just see what happens.
Yeah,
But I think the other part, which we were just kind of talking about, was just never quit. Like even if you pivot or even if you do change careers entirely, like just never quit. Like I used to take failure so hard, and I realized that like when you let failure defeat you, like that to me is real failure. Otherwise, it's just a lesson and it's teaching you something that you need to know in order to become the person that you need to be to receive everything that you want in life. And you can have it.
Oh my God. I just feel like I like had like a coaching session or like a client, like I'm like, yes, so good. I 100%, well, and I literally right before this call got off a call with my coach who I work with. And gosh, I don't know exactly what her whole title is. But she does a lot with manifestation and
Mhm.
stepping into your next level self. And like we literally just had this conversation. So I'm like, oh my gosh, Kristin. You're like feeling my energy or something, like it's still out there.
Yes, I love that. I love manifesting. I feel like I'm still, getting down the practice of it, but I fully believe in it. And I know for some people out there that may sound a little like woo woo, but like take my husband again, Drew, for example, like he's an engineer, he's math and science, he's very, Mr. Practical, but even he and I come to the agreement that like I call it manifesting, and for him, how he explains it, he's like, well, when you have those positive thoughts, you put those vibes out there, and I do think that you attract things. Like when you have a positive mind, you
Yeah,
attract positivity in return. So
I
he
believe
believes
that.
in manifesting too. So
I love that. Drew again.
yeah.
That's true.
Yes.
Okay,
So
I feel go on.
I was just gonna say, so what's your piece of
Yeah.
advice for
Okay. So
entrepreneurs?
I mean, I have multiple things I
Right.
could, but I feel like, especially toward the back end of our conversation, we were talking a lot about like surrounding yourself with the right kind of people and attracting that right kind of people. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't have that, I think that gets to be a priority to like find those people that you can hang out with, whether it's like a networking group, a free group, a membership, even someone that you look up to that you're like like is your informal mentor. Like they don't even have to know it,
Yeah.
it's that were like stalking their page every day and seeing what they're saying. But really start following and surrounding yourself with those kind of people that are like leveling you up, right? Because there's so
Mhm.
many times that I've been working with people and I can hear from stories that they're telling me. I'm like, what did they say, that you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, your energy?
Yes.
And so I'm like, girl, if you're around all that drama, like that's what you're going to attract. So if you don't want to attract that anymore, then we get to put ourselves in a situation where, you're with people who are either building a business, if that's what you really want to do, you know, surround yourself with that kind of group of people, whether that's
Yeah.
people on your team, outside of your team, coworkers. Like I said, I'm in all kinds of coaching groups because I just I can't get enough. I love learning all the things, and there's always something else that I would like accountability for, or and I always end up meeting really awesome people in it. So I encourage you to branch out and find those people that you can surround yourself with, because that's really going to help you get to the next level. And do the thing. That's the other thing. Just do the thing. Rip the Band-Aid
Yep.
off the thing.
I love it. And I love that you said that because it's so true. And I think a lot of people may not realize it, with the group of people that they're hanging out with. I don't think I did until I heard that quote.
Yeah.
And then you kind of look around and you're like, oh, well, so and so, man, she's always dramatic. There's always something to complain about. And that really, like, send light and love, like you said earlier, bless and move on. It's like, I feel for you and I can send you some positive, maybe healing vibes from a distance. Like, I can't, sacrifice my situation to just be an ear for you, and
Right.
it's negativity. So that, I agree, that's very important.
Well, I think it held me back a lot when I first started my business, because I had my teammates and then I had all my normal group of people who none of them were in network marketing. None of them had grown a business. And so like they just didn't really understand it. And
Yeah.
so the questions turned into the negativity. And so then I found myself shifting, okay, well, I need to spend more time with the people who do get it if I want to
Yes.
help. And my business changed, so
Yeah.
we get to change that. And doesn't mean you completely cut those people out forever or all the time, but it's just you're going to also start spending some time with the people who are up leveling you and helping you be the next person that you get to be.
Yeah. I love that. I completely agree.
Awesome, Kristen. I feel like we're like on the same wavelength, and we're going to have tons more conversations. I just know it. Okay, share where everyone can find you, and then I'll share where everyone can find me, since we're podcast
Yes.
live.
Yes, I love that. Let's see, my website is kristinwestfahl.com. And I'm assuming you'll have it linked in the show notes so I don't have to spell it out. Yeah, because I know Kristin's with 2 I's and Westfall has an H at the end, so that's weird. But yeah, kristinwestfall.com. And then I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. They're all Kristin Westfahl. So I should be fairly easy to find.
Yeah, I love that. That's so smart. And then your podcast is called?
Oh, my podcast is called How It Started, How It's Going. It should be everywhere that podcasts are streamed. And I do have a page on my website that you can, click and read about it there. And then you can click from there to find it, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, wherever, all the stuff. So yeah. And then I have an Instagram page for my podcast. It's just Kristin Westfahl Podcast. But that's really just podcast information. I post there when I do a new episode, but mostly I'm active on Kristin Westfahl, and I share the podcast there as well. So
Awesome.
whatever you want to do.
Whichever way. And I think that's probably where I reached out to you maybe the first time, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's where
Yeah. I'm on both, but I definitely spend more time and effort on Kristin Westfahl. So
yeah, I'm the same with my Instagram.
yeah.
So I'm the same way. Lindsay Dollinger. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. I have a LinkedIn, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really on there very much at all. I should be. And
Yeah.
then I
I was
know.
gonna say I'm trying to be more active on there as well, because my business coach is telling me it's important. Yes.
That is definitely a LinkedIn place for sure.
Yeah.
And then my podcast is the Social Selling Sisterhood, and I have a free group called the same thing on Facebook. And then I do have an Instagram page for the Social Selling Sisterhood, but I'm the same way that most of my stuff's on Lindsay Dollinger. And that'll all be linked. I'll send you all that, Kristin, if I haven't yet. But
Yeah.
I share all that as well. And guys, I hope you connect with both of us. If you have any real estate questions, for sure, talk to Kristin, because she's building a team, and I'm sure it's going to be freaking fabulous.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, we're excited for you.
Yes, and if you have any questions or want advice or anything, I actually just joined your Facebook group today because I saw that on the link and I was like, I got to join this like now. So I'm super excited to get in there, get all the cool content on selling, connect with like-minded women. Like, let's do the thing.
Let's do it, girl. Well, thank you so much. This was so fun.
Yes, thanks, Lindsay.
All right, bye-bye.